Did you know that in 1912, something fascinating happened that perfectly illustrates the sunk cost fallacy? This event took place in the Arctic Ocean, where the British polar explorer Robert Falcon Scott led an expedition to be the first to reach the South Pole. Scott and his team encountered many setbacks and challenges on their journey, including bad weather, illness, and dwindling supplies. Despite these setbacks, they continued to press on towards their goal, believing that the amount of time, effort, and resources already invested in the expedition meant that they had to reach the South Pole. However, as they approached the pole, they discovered that a Norwegian team had beaten them to it by just a few weeks. Realizing that they had no chance of being the first to reach their goal, Scott and his team made the fateful decision to continue on and reach the pole anyway. This decision proved to be a fatal mistake. The team became exhausted and depleted as they made their way back to their base camp, and ultimately, Scott and his 4 companions perished from starvation and exposure on their return journey. So, what does this have to do with the sunk cost fallacy? Well, Scott and his team's decision to press on towards their goal, despite knowing that they had no chance of being the first to reach the South Pole, is a classic example of the fallacy in action. They were so focused on the amount already invested in the expedition that they made a costly decision that had tragic consequences. Hey rational rebels! Welcome to the arena of reason, where we train our minds to spot cognitive pitfalls. This is Chris from Critical Conditioning, where we strive for cognitive precision and free our minds from that mental prison. Today's episode is all about the sunk cost fallacy, a cognitive bias that can cause us to make irrational decisions based on past investments. We'll explore real-world examples of this fallacy in action and discuss strategies for avoiding it. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell to stay updated on our latest episodes. If you'd like to support us, please consider donating to our PayPal using the link in the description. And as always, share this episode with someone who could benefit from strengthening their analytical skills. Let's dive in. Sunk cost fallacy. Fun fact 1. The sunk cost fallacy has been observed in a variety of animal species, including rats, pigeons, and monkeys. In experiments, animals have been shown to continue investing time and effort into a task even when it no longer makes sense to do so, simply because they have invested resources into it in the past. Did you know that plenty of studies and questionnaires have been conducted on the sunk cost fallacy, revealing some fascinating and counterintuitive results? For example, one study found that people are more likely to continue playing a game or engaging in a task when they are losing than when they are winning. The researchers suggested that this might be due to the sunk cost fallacy. When people are losing, they feel like they have already invested too much to give up, so they continue to play in the hopes of turning things around. Another study found that the sunk cost fallacy can even affect our food choices. Participants were given the choice between 2 snacks, one they had paid for and one they hadn't. Even when the unpaid snack was objectively better, participants were more likely to choose the paid snack, simply because they felt like they had invested in it already. Questionnaires have also shed light on how the sunk cost fallacy affects our decision-making in relationships. For example, a survey of people in long-term relationships found that those who were more invested in the relationship were more likely to stay in it, even if they were unhappy or their partner was abusive. This suggests that the sunk cost fallacy can cause people to overlook negative aspects of a relationship because they have already invested so much time and effort into it. But it's not all bad news. Studies have also found ways to overcome the sunk cost fallacy. One study found that when people were reminded of the overall cost and benefit of a decision, they were less likely to fall victim to the fallacy. Another study found that framing a decision in terms of future gains rather than past investments can help people make more rational choices. So, what does all of this mean for you? Well, it means that the sunk cost fallacy is a real and powerful cognitive bias that can affect your decision-making in a variety of ways. But by being aware of it and keeping an objective perspective, you can avoid falling victim to it and make better choices. Sunk cost fallacy. Fun fact 2, the term sunk cost comes from economics, where it refers to a cost that has already been incurred and cannot be recovered. This term is often used to describe the fallacy because people tend to view past investments as a sunk cost, even though those investments can't be recovered and shouldn't necessarily influence future decisions. Individual differences can play a significant role in determining who is particularly affected by the sunk cost fallacy. Research has shown that certain personality traits and cognitive styles can make people more or less susceptible to the fallacy. One study found that people who score high on measures of impulsivity and sensation-seeking are more likely to fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy. This suggests that people who are more focused on immediate rewards and experiences may have a harder time considering the long-term costs and benefits of a decision. Another study found that people who score high on measures of neuroticism, a trait associated with anxiety and negative emotions, are also more likely to be affected by the sunk cost fallacy. This may be because anxious people are more likely to feel a sense of loss or regret when faced with the prospect of giving up on something they've invested in. Cognitive styles can also play a role in susceptibility to the sunk cost fallacy. People who are more analytical and deliberative in their decision-making are less likely to be affected by the fallacy than those who rely more on intuition and gut feelings. Overall, while everyone is susceptible to the sunk cost fallacy to some extent, individual differences in personality and cognitive style can make some people more vulnerable than others. By understanding your own tendencies and being aware of the fallacy, you can make more rational and objective decisions. I got a question for you guys: what's worse, continuing to invest time, money, and resources into a project or goal that isn't working out, or giving up too soon and potentially missing out on success? Share your thoughts in the comments below and be sure to read what others are thinking. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on our latest content and join the discussion. Here are some everyday examples of the sunk cost fallacy that you may not have realized. 1. Continuing to watch a movie or TV show that you're not enjoying simply because you've already invested time in it. 2. Staying in a bad relationship because of the amount of time and effort already invested, even though it's clear that the relationship is not healthy or fulfilling. 3. Refusing to give up on a diet or exercise plan that isn't working, simply because you've invested a lot of effort into it already. 4. Continuing to attend a class or course that isn't meeting your needs, simply because you've already paid for it. 5. Staying in a job that you don't like or isn't fulfilling, simply because of the amount of time and effort you've already invested in your career. 6. Continuing to work on a project that isn't achieving the desired results, simply because of the amount of time and resources invested so far. All of these examples demonstrate how the sunk cost fallacy can affect our decision-making in a variety of everyday situations. We tend to place a higher value on what we've already invested, rather than considering the overall costs and benefits objectively. To spot the sunk cost fallacy in yourself and others, it's important to look for signs of irrational decision-making based on past investments. This can include a reluctance to give up on a project or goal, even when it's clear that it's not working out, or a tendency to justify continued investment based on past effort or resources. One effective method for overcoming the sunk cost fallacy is to take a step back and evaluate the decision objectively, weighing the overall costs and benefits rather than simply focusing on what's already been invested. It's also important to recognize the fallacy and its impact on decision-making in order to avoid falling victim to it in the future. Remember, simply being aware of the sunk cost fallacy and other biases and fallacies can go a long way in helping you spot and overcome them in yourself and others. And that's a wrap on today's episode about the sunk cost fallacy. We hope you've learned something new and valuable about this common cognitive bias that can affect us all. Remember, being aware of the sunk cost fallacy is the first step to avoiding it and making more rational decisions. If you found this episode helpful and would like to support our channel, please consider donating to our PayPal using the link in the description. Your support helps us continue to produce high-quality content that's free for everyone to enjoy. Your donation, no matter how small, will help us continue to bring you the latest insights into cognitive biases, logical fallacies, and analytical thinking skills. So please, if you found this episode valuable, consider making a donation to support our mission. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content that will help strengthen your mind's analytical skills. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified of new episodes. Lastly, if you found this episode valuable, please share it with your friends and family. And remember to keep your mind sharp, rational rebels, until the next time we meet in the arena of reason. This is Chris from Critical Conditioning signing off.